All right. Hey. Hi. How are you guys doing, Libras? Welcome back. Okay, so let's jump on into this one. We start out with Story of Truth. Card number 34 is the story of Nundi. And in this storytelling, this is a card out of the African Goddess Rising. But in this storyline, Nundi is someone whose husband is making her feel neglected. Even with several wives, his head still turns, and she feels as if, this is not all that I want for myself. So she goes ahead and decides to live her own truth and chooses someone that she wants to be with, and chooses to be her own best friend, and chooses to to look toward her own happiness, essentially. So the message on this is associated with truth in this story, but it's the reminder that being able to hear truth and speak truth and calmly accept, both of those situations. Sometimes we're the one who needs to speak it, sometimes we're the ones who need to receive it. That's what the message is on this. So let's just see if that's the presiding energy flow is truth, the need for truth, the truth that says, I need to do what is right for me. That's kind of my interpretation on it. First is that we have the Hierophant. My goodness, the Hierophant can talk about listening to one's higher self and finding the truth there, but it also talks about institutions, rules and regulations, things that we may or may not believe in, but feel compelled to adhere to because of social pressures, because of organizational pressures. So this actually begs the question, what is the truth? Is the truth someone saying, I'm going to remain in this connection, in this contract, because it's a contract holding me here? Or is it somebody saying, despite the contract, despite all of this, this is not the place that I choose to be? I feel like this is more about someone committing to themselves right now. I feel like it's bringing up the question because we just got the 7 of coins. 7 is a number of change, but 7 isn't. In this 7 of coins, it's time for a harvest. I feel as if someone is recognizing that in truth, they have been committed to a contract. Because of the character that they have, there is someone who says, look, my word is my bond. I said I would do this. I have now done it. And I have set a goal for myself. And this is actually looking like someone is achieving the goal. This is time for the harvest. She's already plucking those pentacles. So it's an interesting thing because this has been a long time coming. Someone has completed something and they're being truthful with themselves that I did everything I said I would, and now I am finished with this. I am now able to harvest. Wow. We have an 8 of Cups in the reverse. Is this a situation where somebody had to do an honorable thing of finishing something because they said they would, not necessarily because they wanted to, but because their higher self said, you gave that assurance, and your word is your bond, and that is something that you believe in following through. And now their higher self is also saying, you did follow through. You did complete this. You did do everything that you said. So now you can pluck all of those pentacles. This could have been about like a monetary contract. It could have been about a career contract. It could have been something about paying off debts and saving money, so that then this individual can actually turn their back on something and walk directly towards something that they wanted a long time ago but had to bypass due to a connection, a contract somewhere else. Tell me a little bit more about the truth here. Tell me about the truth. The Lovers. Okay, so this is about matters of the heart. It's about choice. I mean, I gotta say, it appears to me, especially because we have birds, and birds are migratory creatures, someone is returning to an individual, possibly a Gemini. We also have Taurus energy here. Something that they've wanted for a very long time, and they're just now able to move toward it. If the Truth card is about the Lovers, it's about what does someone truly want. We got a 10 of Wands. This person wants to lay down burdens and maybe speak their truth to someone that they love, someone that maybe they didn't tell the truth to. Maybe they didn't lay this out. I'm asking about truth. Someone is about to explain something true to this lover. In order to lay down the burden is what? Okay, Four of Wands. Hold on. Unless this, they're going to speak the truth. The Lovers is about a choice. I mean, did someone choose a different path? Five of Coins. No, someone chose to remain to finish out a contract because there was an obligation that they had to complete. This could be someone who chose a career contract instead of a love relationship, knowing full well how important this relationship was, but knowing that for whatever reason, they said, I cannot afford to lose these pentacles. So I made a choice to lose a relationship simply by not giving to it. This is the big burden that somebody has to lay down. I've known that this was my harmony. This is what I wanted, but I chose a path of finances, maybe because this person needed to stay in some kind of a financial connection. Otherwise, they stood to lose too much. It would have been life altering. So they chose to deal with, let's put it this way. Is the best way I can explain what I see in these cards. This does not mean that I approve or disapprove. I'm just a storyteller of a fictional tale, right? So before everybody gets furious in the comment section, just remember, take yourself out of the equation just like I have to as a storyteller, because this is all fiction. This would be, imagine somebody doesn't have enough food to eat. They're going to have a struggle thinking about taking somebody out on a date when they don't have the money to even feed themselves, clothe themselves, pay rent. Those baseline things have to be met before they're probably going to be out there on the dating site, right? That's an extreme example, but in one way or another, that's basically what we're seeing here. This person wants to come clean. They want to tell the truth that they've known who their lover was, but the choice that they made, this huge heavy burden, is that they laid down a perfect connection, the connection of a lifetime, the perfect balanced relationship. They let the connection go because what they couldn't lose at that point was any more resources. They decided to allow a connection to slip through their fingers instead of finances, because that was the baseline that they had to get that, the financial aspect tended to, before they could then focus on romance. And if that's the truth that this character is bringing forth, now that they are returning, now that they can finally harvest. Remember, this has something heavily to do with money, has to do with pentacles. This person had a contract, whomever our character was, they had a contract or something that they said, I have to finish this out. And it was motivated by the need for resources. They chose resources over a connection. And the only reason I'm trying to explain it in that manner is because that's what we see on these cards. The need for the resources was incredibly great, was very high. This person could not juggle both. They could not have a relationship and do what they needed to in career. It was all career or all romance. But at this point, their greater need was the career aspect, the financial aspect. They couldn't have juggled this. I don't know why. We don't see the why on this, but this is our story right now. Why couldn't they have balanced the two? Why did they? Ten of Swords. Because it was more complicated than that. There was they needed to clean something up. This might have had to do with debts then as well, because the Ten of Swords is a painful situation. Someone was almost beholden to something. There was an obligation that made them say, unless I clean this up, unless I just say, I have to give all of myself, all of my energy to this career path in order to earn the resources to pay down these debts so that I can basically gain my freedom, so that I can then end this situation. There's nothing that I can't do anything else but that. I feel like somebody's saying, I literally, I would lose this shirt off my back. I have to clean this mess up so then I can end it once and for all. Then I don't have to try to juggle. This person made a decision to say, I can't juggle both. I need to handle one area of life first and lock it down. Then I can handle the next area of life, which that's the relationship. Because there was a choice here, but it wasn't a choice between lovers. It was a choice between what I want to say is this person decided they had to devote all of themselves, 10,000% of their energy to working through the problems that they had, the whatever it was. Wow. Six of Swords in the reverse. This has not been an easy road for this character, whomever they are. Six of Swords in the reverse says this is like they did not move on from anything, or maybe this, whatever this contract was, whatever this obligation was, would not allow them to move on. That was the thing. They needed to take care of business so that it could be ended and the debts paid off completely. Seven of Cups in the reverse. This person knew there was no quick fix. It wasn't, I feel like they logically went through it, said, okay, but what if I could do this and still have romance? No, that won't work. What if I could work on this and still have romance? No, that won't work. What if I could, and everything was no. I know that there's only one way for me to do this, and it's to simply completely clean up one area of life before I can walk through the door of romance. So this person said, I can't do romance at all right now. Maybe this is, a situation where a lot of times people say, I want to raise my kids and get them off to college before I focus on me. Whatever choice this was for this person. What we see here is a lot of finances so far. And we've got Empress in the reverse and a Nine of Wands in the reverse. It's almost like they said, I'm not allowed to have an Empress in my life. I'm not allowed to even approach this Empress unless I have everything squared away. It's as if this person met their perfect match, the perfect person where they said, this is everything that I want. And holy smokes, there is no way on earth I could be with somebody like this. I can't even attempt to. And this is Libra Taurus energy. I can't even attempt to be with an Empress when I have this many problems. And I know that I can't come in with such it would be like an illusion that I were selling if I were to come forward now and try to get with an Empress when I know that everything in my world is in disarray. This person was aware that they had, I want to say, they also didn't want to mess it up one last time, so they stayed away on purpose. This could have been tumultuous no matter what with that Nine of Wands, but it's in the reverse. This person got really fatigued, and maybe it was easier for them to say, I simply can't have an Empress right now, so there's no point in me even thinking about it. I feel like this person blocked, they used compartmentalization where they said, nope, I can't have this at all, so I'm not even going to think about it. I am turning all of my focus and all of my attention only to the things that I can deal with, the things that are actually easier for me to deal with, which is easier in the sense that if this person would have been so disappointed because they knew that they had too many obstacles in order to get with an Empress, so that Empress, now they've met the Empress, but they can't have the Empress. They close off from the Empress completely, and because it's more fatiguing to keep trying to figure out how could I make this work, when the bottom line is it is not possible, at least in their perception, right? Who's to say what's possible and what's not? But in someone's mind, this is the truth that they want to come forward with. They walked away completely from an Empress instead of pursuing it because it was such a heavy burden to keep thinking, there's no way I can make this right. There's no way. And maybe they kept trying, and another problem would arise because their messy circumstances kept kind of seeping in and polluting the waters. It's like they couldn't keep their messy situation from impacting this connection with the Empress. And they kept trying and it kept failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. So finally they just say, I can't deal with any of this at all. I simply can't have this right now until I tidy up everything else. Now, I don't know. Did they ghost this Empress? Did they disappear on this Empress? That's kind of the vibe it looks like. King of Wands in the reverse. So this person, unfortunately, downshifted to being a King of Wands in the reverse. Frustrated, even belligerent, even their ego was, it's almost like, I can't even do this right now. So, and I'm not going to give anything. I'm not going to open my heart at all. I feel like this person, though, their frustration over their circumstances, I feel like they allowed that to be projected, not just onto the situation, but it went external, almost to the point where then they're blaming the Empress. I don't know if that's going to make any sense, but in this storyline, that's what it looks like. Not a good move, right? Not okay to project one's frustration of their own issues onto their very person that they're frustrated they can't be with. But it seems like it was just this overwhelming, I want this. It keeps getting messed up because I've got all this mess of my own that is impacting it. I'm frustrated with myself, but now I'm frustrated with the whole situation and with the Empress. Why does the Empress have to be so perfect? Why did I have to meet the Empress now when I can't have an Empress now? But I feel like they just kind of melted down. That's what I'll say, right? And we have a High Priestess. I want to say, to me, this is what they never explained, but somehow it's almost like the Empress subconsciously knew it. They wanted to hide all of this. They've wanted to hide all of their frustration. They've wanted to hide that 9 of coins. The underlying, so here's the big reveal, right? Because this is the card of truth. And if this is what this person is finally able to come in and say all of this, everything that we've talked about, they're finally able to come into their Empress and say, this was the mess I had. It kept messing everything up with us. I was so frustrated because I knew the only way I could ever have an Empress like you in my life is if I clean up all this mess. I know that there was no way that I could juggle this. I knew I could only do one thing, and I was so frustrated about the situation that I basically melted the whole thing down, had a big old meltdown over this, was rude, was behaved badly, all because I was so upset that I wasn't enough. This person took all of their frustration, heaped it on themselves, but then pushed it external as well. That's the thing that they didn't explain. It all boiled down to, I wasn't enough. That's the biggest reveal out of all of this. This person is saying, I wasn't enough. That's the thing I didn't tell you. That's the thing that, at the heart of all of this problem was that I didn't think I was enough. Got a 7 of Swords in the reverse. Got a King of Coins in the upright. This is this evidence of this person leveling up now. This is the evidence of this person saying, and now I don't have to lie about any of it. Now I don't have to run away and still watch you from the shadows anymore, trying to not tell you all of the problems I had. Maybe this person made big old mistakes. Maybe they did things that they felt so like foolish for, like, with their money. They invested wrong. They did something that they judged themselves so harshly for. And I would just say this, they allowed the complications of their life to become, 90 feet tall. And maybe it was never really that big of a deal, but in their mind, their shame, their self-recrimination overwhelmed everything, made it impossible in their mind to be able to give anything or be enough to be with an Empress. And all of this could have just been their perception, right? But it certainly made them act like they almost didn't want an Empress. We see that this person like really kind of maybe behaved pretty poorly, acted like they didn't have love for an Empress, but really it was all stemming from the fact that they didn't think they deserved an Empress. So kind of pushing somebody away. And they're only just now able to say all of this because they're only just now in a place where they don't feel badly about themselves anymore. They've gotten their stuff under control. They feel like they have a foundation. They feel like they have something to offer now. We just keep seeing that this person judged themselves harshly for their whatever their resources, their situation with their resources was, their situation with their money or their career or whatever it was. We see no other like characters showing up. We don't see other, lovers. It wasn't, questioning, do I go with this person or that person? None of that. This is all about their self-value, and that whatever system they used to define whether or not they had value seems like it was all about their resources, their money. How do they view themselves? And this wasn't something that Empress placed upon them. This was a measurement that they were using on themselves, and feeling overwhelmed and frustrated, like they didn't measure up. They could never have an Empress. So they acted surly and they pushed away and iced out an Empress, is what I would say. All the while, with this Seven of Swords, this is somebody who still stood there and spied on the Empress, still wondered, what's happening with the Empress. But I'm not going to talk to the Empress because I have nothing to offer her, and I'm so upset with myself, but I'm actually kind of taking it out on her. That's the part of this that I don't like at all. But again, it's not for me to like or dislike. It's just a story, and I only get to read what pops out. So I never try to say, oh, this is, the way it should be or the way it shouldn't be. I don't tell people how to live. I don't care how anybody lives. I'm not like the moral judge here. But this character that we see is being super honest now. Now they can face it all. Now they can say all of this. They finally can speak a truth to an Empress because they have resources. They have a foundation under them. They finally say, I do have value. I have cleaned up the mess. And maybe this was in some respect was all true. They didn't want to bring a disaster to the doorstep of an Empress. They knew they'd made some poor choices in life that weren't the Empress's choices, and that kept sucking them back in, that kept making problems for them. And they kept thinking, here's this Empress, she doesn't have any of those complications. I should be able to step up and match her so that we can just be together in unison. I don't want to be at someone else's beck and call because I owe somebody money. I don't want to have to make decisions always based off of, all of these obligations. I want to be able to commit to an Empress. Well, they finally can. So maybe they handled it. Look, let's put it this way. They handled it the way they had to for who they are. And at this point, they're a King of Coins, which is an amazing and stable and powerful character. So I think that the big message on this story, well, let's me not say it. Let's get one more. What is the big message on this? What's our final kind of big takeaway message in this story? I always look for whatever the big message is in a storytelling. Knight of Wands in the reverse. Wow. 5 of Cups upright. 4 of Coins. Oh my goodness. So, this story comes with a big fat reality check lesson in it, which is someone should not have raced towards something out of passion. They saw an Empress, they wanted that Empress, right? But if they weren't really able to give to an Empress, they caused a lot of grief. And they held back all for the sake of, here we have this wealthy merchant who is busy with their coin. If this person knew out of the gate that they weren't going to be able to make romance a priority, they shouldn't have tried romancing this Empress at all, because they caused this Empress grief. Because in one way, this is a miser's card, okay? So this is the hoarder. I want, what's important to me is that I have the money that I need. Now, again, we've already talked about like the intricacies. Like nothing is such a simple black and white story. This is not like, oh, this person's a villain. All they cared about was money. They didn't want to get with somebody unless they had the money. Then why'd they go ahead and tangle with her in the first place and hurt her feelings, right? We could say it that simple, but it's not quite that simple, because the big message here is to be mindful that if we really have a bunch of stuff we need to tend to, and we already know that that's where we're going to place our effort. It's almost like somebody needed to ask themselves right from the beginning, where is my priority? I need to tell that to whomever I'm dealing with. I care about you, but I cannot be with you right now. I have to handle my business because my life is not where I need it to be yet. Can I call you in 3 to 5 years? That would have been straightforward, but instead, this person caused a lot of grief if they moved towards someone that they should not have. They should not have tried to do passion. It's almost like they might have come in to be self-serving, like saw this Empress, they couldn't stop themselves, they're crazy about the Empress, who wouldn't be? So they wanted the Empress, but they wanted it for the passion, knowing full well they were not going to give to this. And if that was the case, that's what caused tremendous and unnecessary grief to another person. So it really, I mean, this is a tough lesson maybe that is coming out, but again, I don't get to pick the cards. So the big message is, how do we avoid causing individuals hurt? And how do we avoid causing ourselves a tremendous amount of regret? It would have been better if this person had simply not gone forward an Empress unless they could be totally on the up and up about what their circumstances were. But instead, this person caused problems because they were actually in a place where they already knew they were going to hold back. They were not going to invest with an Empress. Now, we could argue it's because they didn't have enough to invest with an Empress, but still, then they shouldn't have probably gone toward her with this collection of cards. I'm not saying that. I don't care what anybody does. Not my place to say. But I asked what the big lesson was, and it says, withhold trying to create passion if that cannot be what you're actually intending on investing in. Don't. This person maybe even let an Empress on, wanted the Empress to, they wanted to feel what it was like to have an Empress's love around them. Yet this person didn't ever really want to be a player. They wanted an Empress, but they couldn't have it. So they got a taste of what that would be like and then hurt the Empress. And this person has a lot of regret. They fostered a ton of regrets because they really weren't ready for this. But they should have been maybe self-aware enough not to cause somebody else grief. And the Six of Wands is sideways. This person, here's the problem. They already were struggling with, maybe having autonomy in their life because they had all these obligations and all these problems that they needed to fix. But then they saw an Empress and wanted to come toward her before they should have. They didn't feel good enough about themselves to be with her. But now they basically laid on another dose of not necessarily feeling great about themselves because they just made a selfish choice, is the way that card would describe this action, because it is the Miser's card with that Four of Coins. So now it yields a Six of Wands sideways. It's like now this person has a second issue that they're going to have to deal with about feeling bad. If they already felt bad that they didn't have enough to offer, now they're going to feel a little bit bad, or maybe a lot bit bad, because they behaved in a certain way. Queen of Coins in the reverse, and they may have caused significant damage. It may just now be sinking in that this Empress may not say yes to them again. This Empress may not be willing to be their Queen of Coins. This person might say, but you hurt me, you abandoned me, you did such and such. I think they're aware that they jeopardized this connection because they made some poor choices. What happens? I'm just going to stop this. And now I'm still asking what does happen with this Queen of Coins. Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. It's, let's just say, not now. Even if they're coming in to say all of this, explain all of this, they will probably, either they've already missed their shot with her, or she's not warming up to them right away just because they're coming in to speak a truth. We got a Queen of Wands in the reverse. Gosh, this doesn't look good right now. We got an Eight of Swords in the reverse. Hold on. We have to first free up all kinds of stuck energy. Two of Swords in the reverse. There's still more questions that maybe our Empress has. Okay. But then we go to the World. There's going to be a new cycle that starts, but it's not right away. It's not until all of this hurt feelings and old karma gets cleared out, which makes perfect sense, right? How could we pretend that everything's okie dokie when it's not, right? If they're coming into this Empress, who's also the Queen of Coins, to reveal all this, there's a lot to dump on her, right? The fact that, if we were to summarize it quickly, it would be like, okay, so you didn't come forward. You got me interested in, on purpose. And then you basically disappeared, knowing full well you were always going to, knowing full well you weren't offering me anything. Knowing that I was an Empress, you wanted to get a taste of what it would be like to be loved by an Empress, but you knew right out of the gate you were never offering me anything at any point in time because you had a mess. You knew that. So you started us out on a false pretext. You had no business coming toward me. I feel like that's her first reaction is when she hears all this. You should never have thought you could approach me. Why would you have done that? That was pure selfishness. I don't want to give to a selfish person. Okay, so that's her reaction. Kind of understandable, maybe. She says, I got nothing to give to you right now. You're coming in to tell me all this. We're not moving things forward. This is your big reveal. Like, I don't know what I think of you at this point. There's a lot to dump on someone all at once, is what it looks like. And then there's this energy of this, with the Queen of Wands in the reverse. I mean, she may even be saying, so wait a second, I wasn't good enough for you to choose. This could be a self-esteem thing for her that she's also got to like deal with or recognize. Maybe all this time she'd been feeling like, I must not have been attractive enough. I must not have been the person that you wanted, obviously, because you didn't choose me. And now almost hearing that it was like finances over romance that they chose. I think at first this character is interpreting it as, wow, I didn't win out over a couple of bucks, huh? I wasn't alluring enough, attractive enough, interesting enough to hold your attention. She first kind of takes it as like, oh, so I wasn't enough, huh? But here's the thing, that's not the right interpretation. And I say that only because when she thinks about it, she actually releases this completely. No, it wasn't that I wasn't enough. I was stuck in that mindset for a really long time thinking you must have chosen somebody over me. Now it turns out it was money that you chose over me. Wait a second. Why have I been thinking I'm not attractive enough? This was never about me. This person's choices was never about me. It was about their worth. It wasn't about my worth. Okay, I can see this way more clearly. In fact, I'm not even blocking anything anymore because I finally realized this had nothing to do with me. I wasn't put in competition with even money. It was that individual that was trying to find their sense of self, their sense of worth. She gets clarity on this. So she finds truth in all this also. This person is coming in to try to explain all of that, but it takes a minute for it to sink in for her. I think she needs a little time to let it all sink in. And as soon as it does, these two could have a brand new cycle. Or it simply frees her from this whole dramatic thing she was, incorporated into, and whatever hurt and whatever, like painful thing she had experienced, all that is lifted off of her shoulders. It's a complete different way to see it. And you notice it's the eye of the universe. I think it's because this is big truth coming in. This is the kind of truth where it's like someone is speaking from their heart. I do still think it takes a minute for it to sink in for our Empress here. It takes a minute for it to sink in that, oh my God, all this time I've been thinking you didn't want me. All this time I've been thinking you thought I wasn't much of anything. I wasn't good enough. It turns out it was you that you didn't think was good enough, unless you could clean up this mess, unless, you could handle all these things. It had nothing to do with me at any point in time. That's a huge sense of freedom, and that heals a lot of these wounds that I feel like our character had carried with them for a really long time. Regardless of whether or not these two have a cycle that begins together now, they at least have a cycle of freedom of hurt. This really does clear the air, is what it looks like, because everybody sees it differently. And it's all because our lead character came in with something true, where they kind of laid themselves bare and said, this is how it is. This is what was going on. This is why I did what I did. So I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you guys for being a part of my world. If you do enjoy my free storytelling, please do give this video a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to the channel. To do that is free, and it helps my free channel continue. It's the only way my free channel can be here. As I always say, I am a storyteller. I am not a psychic. I don't have that gift. I don't tell anybody anything about their life. I don't tell you how to live. I'm not a life coach, none of that. So please bear that in mind as you listen to these stories. This is like reading a book, watching a movie. I don't predict people's futures. And that's super important to me because I I will never try to persuade people to believe in anything. I don't believe in that myself. I personally am all about like being transparent, that this is the art of storytelling. It's something I'm proud that I do. I like storytelling, but I always present it in that way because it's super important. I think it's empowering to be reminded that we decide for ourselves what our story will be. So even if there's things that you relate with in my storytelling, hey, I'm a human who has human experiences like everybody, so I can only speak from a human construct, right? So we're all probably going to find things that relate in life, but the reason we watch movies, the reason we read books is because we like to be entertained. But then also sometimes we go, huh, that's a new perspective. And that's what storytelling is all about in my mind. It's different perspectives. But again, it doesn't predict your outcome. So I hope that puts it in perspective. Sometimes I explain this just when I get a lot of hate on my channel about people screaming at me for this or that. And it's like, I really describe this a lot. I feel like on my channel, and still there's just people that come at me for all kinds of things. And so if you already know this about my channel, I hope you've already clicked off. You don't need to hear this again. But for those of you who are new, thank you so much for being here. And I hope that that makes it more fun if you do enjoy this kind of storytelling and art, because it's now framed in the way that I intend it to be. So thank you guys very much for being a part of my world. Bye for now.